I'm Kara Ray, founder of Ambitious Moms Balancing Business and Babies. I'm a mother, a stepmother to 3 beautiful children. I'm a wife and a proud entrepreneur. I'm a mindset coach specifically for mothers who desire to strip the mom guilt and own their ambition in business and family life. The Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast is for the ambitious women and mothers who are ready to rise together and empower one another. Get plugged in each week for unfiltered and uncensored conversations between myself and industry leaders who support you, have unwavering points of view, and empower women to believe in themselves. We will be discussing business, spirituality, energy, strong points of views, manifestation, and what I like to call breaking the stigma topics. Conversations that will no longer be silenced. This is a safe place to reclaim your power of being a woman. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast. So today I am super excited because I get to interview my personal coach, my friend, Autumn Bensett. And Autumn is an intuitive life and business coach for the driven, bold, and spiritually charged up woman in network marketing and an online entrepreneur. So, hi Autumn.
Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I feel so honored. So thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm super happy to be doing this with you because this was like the final piece before I get it ready to like launch. It's literally like this and then boom, it's out there. So I'm excited.
I can't wait. This is going to be so good. It's going to be so magic, and it's going to be just full of so many juicy nuggets and so many incredible tidbits and so much guidance and support and love for so many women. And I've just been so honored to see this all be put together and just see everything behind the scenes and just I'm celebrating you.
I'm super like without your help, honestly, between you and Mindy, I would have probably thrown my computer because this was a process and a half, and you guys saved my butt from not doing that. So,
yes, it is such a process.
Mm-hmm. So to start though, usually I ask a question in regards to like what somebody is celebrating currently right now. So what is something that you, Autumn, are currently celebrating in your season of life?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I feel like the most obvious thing right now that I should celebrate is the fact that I brought a human into this world. This is insane. I didn't even I always just keep going back and forth in my head. Like, how is it freaking possible that we can do this? You might hear her. And it's like, how is it freaking possible that we can do this? Like as humans, as women, like it blows my mind that our bodies are able and capable to do this, and that we can literally create life, we can bring it into the world, and then it just goes back to normal. Like what is that? like what is that? Like it blows my mind. So I'm celebrating right now the fact that I am this, this has shown me what a powerful and how capable and how strong I am in ways that I didn't think were possible for me. Even just 10 months ago, before I got pregnant, this was the scariest thing that I thought I was ever going to go through. And the fact that I got through it is something to celebrate. And I'm celebrating the fact that I'm trying to do all the things. I jump back in and I'm running this business and a baby. And well, I'm not running a baby, but I'm raising a baby now, figuring out mamahood, running a baby. I'm running a business and I'm stepping into motherhood all at the same time. And I think that that's something to be celebrated because I don't know how many women truly celebrate themselves for doing that.
I don't think many do, because until I met you, did I actually celebrate the fact that I pushed out a baby and created a human.
Right.
And that was a huge goal, that I wanted to become a mom. And so even you were mentioning how everybody would hear your little one on here. Well, this podcast is also geared towards moms, so that should be perfectly fine with most of the listeners on here. So
I hope so. I hope.
So today we're going to be talking about wealth and abundance and money mindset. And so I have learned so much from Autumn, you guys, that this conversation is going to be wild. And so Autumn, when we're talking about money mindset, what is something that you strive to teach your clients in regards to the stories they tell themselves that they've attached money and their ability to receive it. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. I'm sitting here and be like, okay, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. What's coming my way? Yeah, this is a great question. And I definitely say that I would strive to teach my clients that their stories don't have to be their stories. Like at any point we get to shift and change this, and that whatever we have been built or accustomed to believe, because let's be real, like we all have a story around money. We all have one. Like the only place that we learn about money, and literally the only place, okay, we do not learn about money from school. We don't learn about money from, our jobs really. Like the only place that we ever learn about money is from our parents. And that is the very first place that we adapt these stories. And a lot of the time, we don't even realize that we have a story. We don't even realize that we've learned anything about money. It is just what we've come to know is true, because we have seen and grown up with our parents using, spending, holding on to money, investing money, building up debt, all these different things in a specific way. And so we don't even realize it, but then without it's almost like walking and talking. Like you don't realize it happens. It just happens. And then we start to spend and use money the same way that our parents did. And so I think the biggest thing that I like to teach my clients is the permission that they have to rewrite this and to make it look any single way that they want to, that they get to redefine this rule, they get to redefine their story, and they can make this, if it's something for them that is hard and it's difficult and it feels strenuous and they always feel like there's never enough to go around and that they're always having to bust their ass for it forever. And it's never going to be something that they can have abundantly and it can be fun and easy to make. I call bullshit on it every damn time. And I'm just here to help them rewrite these stories and rewrite these truths and know that they can at any single moment step out of this story, because we make this story, right? We create this pattern around it. We create these habits, and just like anything, whether it's nutrition, it's food, it's working out a muscle in the gym, it's anything. We just have to rework it. We have to create a new muscle. We just have to work it out every single day the same way, in the way that we speak, in the way that we talk. And, maybe this is a roundabout and really long answer, but I want to give that power back to my clients, that they get to redefine what this looks like for them. And it's not always the easiest journey, but it's probably the biggest and most empowering. And, I think it's the thing that I love the most in being able to help my clients transform, because when they can transform this, they can transform literally everything else.
100%. And working with you has completely shifted my money mindset. Honestly, it's mind-blowing, because when we're talking about how it comes from your parents and we learn from our parents, that was something when I first started working with you, I was like, oh no, I'm good. I never had money issues. I had a lot of money issues, and to try to figure out where that stemmed from. And when we ended up talking about parents, and it's not like my parents are bad people. They're amazing people. It's not like they're intentionally doing something, but it wasn't until I talked to them about my money fears and was very open about that they actually came and apologized to me, because they felt that they had put too much pressure on me as a child. And I remember saying, you think? Like it was one of those things where they're like, well, we should have maybe backed off a little bit. I was just like, I could have used this like 10 years ago. But I have it now. And they basically gave me that permission, even though I give that permission to myself, that they were like, you don't have to follow this. Like what we did was not intentional, and that you get to change that. And so it's really putting the onus and the power back onto the individual, that you have that power to rewrite your story. And even talking with you now, prior, when I first launched my business, I was still living in that scarcity lack mindset, where yesterday I'm like, no, I'm going to launch something and I know exactly what the price is and it's already sold out. Like it was one of those things where I just knew, and there was no ifs, ands, or buts, and no questions. And so I think it's so important that people like open up and honor that and rewrite the damn story, because it's not like you can always write a story. It's like, it's just like how you can always start. Every day is a fresh start. So I want to touch on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, I totally interrupted you. What'd you say?
No, I was like, yeah, 100%. I mean, we could jam back and forth about this topic forever, because like something, and I don't want to cut you off from your question, but, something that you had said there is like, my parents had no bad intention. Like, they're wonderful people. And I think that's the thing I want to note super quick for everybody, because I never wanted to sound like, your parents are bad people with full intention to do this, because they don't. It's that we only know what we know. And a lot of the time, and let's be real right now, is our generation right now is the first generation really that's changing what it looks like for money. It's really the first generation where women are able to create the money that they are. It hasn't been long that women have even had the opportunities that we have. So I think it's important to note that when you see your parents struggling to understand what you're doing, or you see them struggling to understand the income that you're making, or they maybe huff and puff at your goals, or they have taught you the things that they have, it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with, even the potential that they see in you. They see that it's triggering for themselves because it's what they know to be true about money. And so if they put those limitations on you, it has nothing to do with you. And it just has to do with where they've seen money and what they have seen growing up, and the fact that their parents probably, went through famine, and they went through, times where they maybe had an economic crash, and they actually seen money go away, and they had to live in that same job for 50 years. And then they worked everything they could to have that retirement and pension plan and be safe. And it's just worlds different. So they had good intentions. Like, I 100% believe that they always have good intentions. My parents had good intentions, but even now, I still catch them, even though I'm bringing in 5-figure months, I still catch them being like, well, you got to be careful. You got to be careful with this. And what if this and what if that? And I'm just like, Mom, Dad, I love the tits out of you. I appreciate you. You're incredible. But trust me, I got this. I'm capable of anything. And I love that you are wanting to keep me safe, but I don't need to be safe. That's the last thing I need right now. So wanted to touch on that super quick.
No, I love that you touched on that, because even when I had the conversation with my parents, it was never intentional. Like, there was never this intent to mess up my mind in regards to money. It was all because they didn't want me to make the same mistakes that they did. It was out of this protectiveness that they didn't want that to happen. And I will forever be thankful that that's what their intention was. And unfortunately, like, it went a little bit differently, and then I played into those things too. But there was never this intention behind it that they were being mean. And so I like that you touched on that, because parents, at least my parents, are not mean. They don't intentionally do something to hurt me.
And most of them aren't, but we can carry this weight on our chest and think that they're doing this out of hurt. And we're like, why do they feel this way? Why are they acting like this? Why don't they believe in me? And I just want you guys to remember and look at it with eyes of love, that it has nothing to do with you and the fact that they don't love you or believe in you. They're triggered by their own capabilities and what they have seen possible for them. And that is literally it. It has nothing to do with you. And so when I was able to switch that from eyes of love and understand that, I was able to open up, I could create a different conversation around it, and I could take my power back, right? Because I recognize this isn't about them. Like, this isn't about them, and I just need to remind them that, and I have to keep treading forward.
100%. And, when we're talking about, because they're basically kind of like these limiting beliefs of like our parents, and ourselves, I guess. But what was one of the hardest limiting beliefs that you had to overcome, that constantly kind of kept showing up for you, that you were like, no? And especially in regards to money. So I guess I should word that properly, because we're talking about wealth and abundance. What was one of the hardest limiting beliefs for you in receiving an abundance of wealth?
I think that it probably two of them. One, that it has to be really hard to make. And I'll touch into both of these, but it has to be really hard to make, and that it always goes away once you have it. The very first one is that it has to be really hard to make. And I think this really came from the fact that, number one, I always prided myself on that hard work badge, right? Like, I had to work really, really hard for things. And so I always had, 3 to 4 jobs at a time. I always worked really, really hard. I'd live at my jobs, and I always remember like pushing myself to the past point of exhaustion, where I would maybe have 2 hours, 3 hours of sleep at night, because I'd be doing that between going to school, whether that was university or it was high school. I'd be working 3 jobs, like in high school and in university. For what? I don't know, because it's not like I was paying for, I wasn't paying for my vehicle. I wasn't paying because my parents had, I'm so grateful for them, but they had bought my vehicle like outright. So it wasn't like I was paying for my vehicle. It wasn't like I was paying for my university because that was something that they were covering at the time because I had, that was just something that they always wanted to do for us. So but I had a line of credit. So it wasn't like I was paying for my school. Like I didn't necessarily need to have these jobs, but I seen that was something that my parents at the time, they prided me on. I got attention from the fact that I was working so hard and I'd be like, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I had to have 3 Red Bulls today and my eyes are barely staying open, but I'm doing it. And I got this high off of working so hard and not making very much. And so it was always this thing that got prided on that you had to work really, really hard. So I only seen my money come from really hard, strenuous work when I was overly exhausted, overly tired. And that's when I seen it. And that's when I allowed myself to feel proud that I had it. And if it didn't come from really hard work, I didn't feel good about it. So I think that was probably the biggest first one because I wanted to shift into a life where this got to be easy and fun and effortless. And it's probably the best thing that I hear my clients say now is when they're signing on their clients or they're filling out programs or they're doing these things and they're seeing money come, they're like, this actually can be really fun and effortless and easy. And I never thought it could. And I'm like, exactly, like this can be fun and effortless and easy. And it's not that you're not showing up and doing the work, but there's the difference between doing work that you feel aligned with and it feels intentional with, and it feels good to do where you're lit up and you're excited about it and it fuels you and it almost energizes you versus having to do something that you're like, oh, I hate that I have to go to this job today. I hate that I have to go do this. I hate, this feels so hard. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. There's a difference. And so it's not that when you're building an income, as an entrepreneur, that it's not going to be hard work or you're not going to need to take time or it's not going to take effort, but there's a difference between hard work that feels good and hard work that energizes you. So that would probably be the first one. And then the fact that it always falls away, I would say it didn't really start to show up for me a lot until I moved out on my own. That's when things really started to shift a lot because before then, I'm living with my parents. I don't pay rent. I don't pay any of these things. I don't have bills. And so my money would actually pile up for a long period of time. Sorry. My goodness, I can't speak. A large period of time, I would always allow myself to build up my money and I'd have money and I would save it and I'd have all these things. So I seen money pile up, but then I moved out. And I moved in with my boyfriend and, things would get hard and we'd have rocky times. And there was time last year when and I'll try not to go too deep into the story, but we had our personal training and private group fitness business. And after over a year where we were running it consistently, and all of a sudden everything fell away. And they terminated our lease and we couldn't come back there anymore and we couldn't work there anymore. And now all of a sudden we had all these people to service, but we didn't have anywhere to service them. And so money got depleted. Our rent was taken 5 days into the month and we didn't have anything left. We couldn't figure out how to pay rent to begin with at our place. And there was no money for food because now we don't have anywhere to service people, but they've already paid us, right? So they've already paid us everything. We've already spent the money, but now we have nowhere to make more of it. And that was really hard. Right? We were just, for the next couple of months, we're like, we just need to get rid of these packages. We just need to service out what people already paid us for. And that also ties into, I'll backtrack to that in a second, but it also ties into my network marketing company. All of the months that I was building up income and then it would deplete, building up income and then it would deplete, building up income and it would deplete. And so it was like this constant emotional freaking roller coaster that I'd either be on all the time because my income would increase and then it would go away. And that is also something that made me believe that it had to be really hard, right? Sending a ton of cold messages, spending tons of hours watching different trainings, being on a bunch of different calls. My relationship was falling apart. I was burnt out all the time and I was really exhausted. All of my values were gone. I'd spend time in the parking lot and I'd be like, hey, hold on before we go into shop because I have to answer this message. And I would be at the beck and call of other people all the time. I had no boundaries. And so at that point, it was like, money is so freaking hard to make, and whenever I make it, it just goes away as fast as as fast as I make it. So there was definitely periods of time in definitely seasons, because when this lease fell away, that was the same time within the 24 hours. If you've heard my story before, I'll try not to dive too much into it, but that's when it also fell away as well, is my network marketing company. So everything within 24 hours went away, and all of a sudden my flow of money was gone. bringing in income was gone. And I was just like, I worked so freaking hard for this. Why is it going away? Why is it gone? Why, like, what now? And I just remember sitting there and telling myself, like, I will never allow anybody to be in control of my income again. I will never allow anybody to do this. And that really came from like a place of fear. It was not a good space at that time, but it did allow me to step into what I do now and take control and find the answers and change my mindset around money and step into abundance. And if that didn't happen, like, I can't even imagine where I'd be right now. If everything didn't fall away and I didn't learn this lesson, it would still be really hard and it would still be really difficult. And I would not be making 5-figure months in a way that feels like this is my sole freaking purpose. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. So long answer. Long answer, but
that's okay. I love your long answers, because I was going to ask you to go in a little bit deeper about yourself so people understood the money blocks that you had. So I love that you did that, because it was like you like read ahead what I had written down here. So
mind reader.
Yes. You and Kiki, I swear, like you both did this, and I'm just like, what? Like, do we share a brain? Do we share a brain? Oh.
We do share a bane. We share a brain. We share a brain. But you know what? I think part of it's like, because I podcast too, so then sometimes I just catch myself. I just go off on tangents. So sometimes it's like, dude, stop, slow down. But yeah, I wanted to touch on that super quick because I wanted you guys to understand where those fears ultimately came from and why, why I felt that way about money and why it had to be hard, because it's not like it just came out of nowhere.
Yes.
But I guess, touching on that as well, super quick before you move on to anything else, it's just, I think I see my dad also work really hard growing up, right? He was always gone. He worked out of town. He was always working to pure exhaustion. And so I think I seen it from him, and then I prided myself on the same behaviors because I seen that that's what he did. And I wanted to almost, I don't want to say I wanted to earn his respect, but I seen how proud he was of me when I worked hard. Yes. And so there was part of me that was like, I need to do it that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it, because I think that we were talking earlier about how our generation now has like a different mentality in women and entrepreneurship and just creating your own wealth. And it's different, because I remember doing the same thing with my father and wanting to have approval when there was always approval, and I was looking for like some other way to show up for him or to get this reaction from him. And so that meant going to school, and that meant working, and that meant trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But none of that aligned with who I was until I reached this breaking point, because I'm a firm believer that shit's gonna smack you in the face multiple times until you deal with it.
Every damn time. Yes.
And I pushed for years against this, and every time it came back. And this time I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have these tough conversations. I'm gonna work through these things, and I'm gonna do the damn freaking thing, and I'm gonna have an amazing, successful business and surround myself with beautiful people. And so now it's wonderful to see that my parents have this shift that they still feel blocked. They're like, we want to be so open to this. We want to support you so much. And I can tell that they are, because they're listening and they're watching and they're being a part of this journey. And sometimes they catch themselves. They'll start talking in this like a scarcity mindset, or where they used to be, and they stop themselves. And so I think that's also a huge thing for them, though, that I have to give them kudos for, that they're being supportive. And so that's important I just think that
is huge. No, but that's huge. Like that is a really big deal that you are able, because that's what happens as you start to shift and you start to grow in the space. You're giving permission to your parents to do the same thing. And you've even told me, in our sessions, that they have had these conversations with you and they've started to see things differently, and that they are starting to spend and use money differently. And that's the exact first step that they need to take. And what's incredible is that because you allowed yourself to do this and start to question your beliefs and start to question everything and start to take a new path, you allowed them to do that. How freeing is that? Like that is massive. That is huge.
It is incredibly freeing. It is like the best way that I could describe it for people who can't like see us on here. It's literally when you feel like your hands are cuffed and that there's only like one way to go, or that it's like how there's like a quote in regards to like how they view humans as cattle, how we follow the masses, how it's not like then when there's someone who like steps out of that norm and steps out of this like, social thing, it's like, holy crap. And these like sirens go off of like, you gotta catch that person and bring them back. And so it's very different. And people have to adjust to these new norms and then everything, like there's like everything changes. It blows my freaking mind. Like even when I think back and I look at everything that has changed and grown, I'm like, holy shit, my life is different.
Yes. And like
in a really good way.
Yes. And honestly, like such a short time. Like I tell you this all the time on our sessions that it blows my mind to see where you are right now, because our first conversation was so centered around the conversation about money, but I don't think you realized at the time how blocked you were. And then to see now how open you are and how you're like, yeah, I invest in this. Yeah. And I'm like, Kara, what? Where did you come from? And I'm so freaking proud of it, because we put the pressure on ourselves. Like this is the thing that we need to realize, is that money is a piece of paper. Okay. Money is a piece of paper. It is something that exists in your online banking account. It's just a number. It just exists. It's just there. No different than a number on your house. No different than a number on a street. Like no different than the number on literally anything, anywhere. It doesn't matter the time, anywhere. And we decide to give it this insane power that takes complete control over us, that we allow ourselves to get exhausted, burnt out, stressed out. We allow it to affect our relationships, our marriage. We do so much over a flipping number. And if we allow ourselves just to say, it's just a number, it's just a number, and not to make it sound like that, because people are just like, okay, well, easy for you to say. But you guys, I have been there. I've been there when I had less than $4 in my bank account. And that's my overdraft. That was my $2,000 overdraft where I didn't have anything else. And I didn't know how I was buying dinner that night. But I still invested in courses, and I still figured out the way to do this for myself and start my business and transition things for myself when we had nothing. I've been there when we didn't have money. I've been there when, I had to ask for help and I didn't know how we were going to pay rent, and I didn't know how to do these things. So it's not like I'm coming from a space of ignorance and I haven't walked in these shoes and I don't know what it's like to struggle, because I do. But we have the power to give it what it is. And the only way that we can change this story and we can change how it shows up for us is if we take the power away from it and we allow it, instead of it to be this money and expensive and all these things, we allow it to be something that is beautiful and abundant. And we just remove the power from, I'm trying to find the right words for this. We remove the, what am I trying to word? There's a word that I have in my head and I can't get my freaking tongue on it right now, but essentially we give it the power. We give it the meaning that it holds, and we allow ourselves to get stressed out about it. We allow ourselves to affect everything, where we're just so stressed out every freaking damn day. And at the end of the day, like in the same moment, you can say, I'm abundant. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be taken care of. This is all going to work out. We're going to be supported. And in that same moment, not a single dime could change in your bank account, but how you feel does. And all of a sudden you're in a space where you can actually make money, where your creativity can flow, and you can be the magnet that attracts other people and other women in, and attracting the people who are going to pay you and want to pay you and are excited to pay you. But no one's excited to pay or give a raise to somebody who's stressed out all the time, who's burnt out, who's already running themselves ragged, who doesn't have any more space or time to up-level themselves. Nobody wants to do that. Like nobody's going to give you a raise. Nobody's going to give you money. No one wants to pay you or buy your courses or sign you on as a coach or whatever it might look like, as whatever it is that you do in your business. So say you're like in a network marketing business, or you have a side gig and you have customers. People take on your energy. Like they're not just buying your product, your service, or anything. People are also buying your energy. They're getting in your container. Right? And so they take on whatever energy you have. And so if you're in fear and desperation, someone pays you for something, that's what they get. So if they already have a ton of fear and desperation and lack and scarcity, they're not going to pay you to get more of that. Right? They don't want to get more of that. And so it's always just like the chicken and the egg, like which is the one that comes first, right? Do I wait for the customers or the clients and all the money to then feel abundant and then do all the things and then take the risks on myself and then to feel like I'm successful and I can treat myself and feel up leveled? Or do I do all the things first so then I can be the person to attract in the clients and the money that I desire?
Yes. That is something that I've had to Just that's like a part of integrity for me and who I wanted to show up in this like next level version of myself that I knew that, and even this is something like a block that my husband has had in regards to money and investing money into who I am and where I want to go. And there's been many people actually that have been like, well, you know, you're putting all this money into this and what's going to happen if it fails? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not thinking of it that it's failing. I was like, there is nothing in my mind that thinks that I'm never doing this. I said, it's my decision, and what I choose to invest in, there needs to be no justification for that because it's my damn life. And like this, I guess the past like 2 weeks, that was something that I literally just like fully stepped into and embodied, that I could sit here before. I felt like I had to explain every situation I was doing. If I was investing in a program or my graphic designer or creating something, I felt like I had to justify it to people. Where now I'm like, it's not your freaking business. It's mine. And I don't have to tell you anything. And it's not your money either that's going anywhere. It's mine. So
exactly.
It's like other people's opinions of you is none of your business. I say this like multiple times, but it also reigns true for yourself, that you need to remind yourself that even when you're saying that, everybody else's opinion, it does not matter where you're going, because later when you actually start seeing everything and the shifts that you're making, you're going to be like, you know what? I'm so proud that I continue to move through this. And I'm so proud that I freaking did the damn thing. So
100%, because the truth is that we wish that we could see the end right now, right? We wish that we could see how it all plays out right now. And that's part of the issue that we have as humans, is that we don't want to take leaps unless there's like this guarantee and that we can see how it all plays out and that it all works and that we make the money and we sign the clients and that the business gets to where it is that we want to go. We want to see that. We want to be guaranteed it before we leap, but that's just not how it works. You have to be able to leap and trust and surrender to the fact that it just will, and that if it's for you, it's going to happen. And regardless, because you mentioned something about failure, and I think failure is absolute bullshit. Like, I don't think that failure is even possible in any way, shape, or form, because no matter what it is that you do, you're either going to be directed closer to what it is that is for you, or you're going to step away from what isn't for you. Failure doesn't exist. Like, either it's for you or it's not. You maneuver, you change, you grow, you shift, you take a new direction, but every single thing serves a purpose, whether it's a lesson you met a certain person, there was an opportunity, you had a shift. Like, there's always a reason for what it is that you do, and you're not always meant to be in the same place forever. So there's a reason why at one point I was doing a lot more life coaching, and then I stepped into business coaching, or I did health coaching in the past. Does it mean that I was a failure at health coaching? No. What I learned there was critical, and me stepping into network marketing was critical for what I'm doing now. I had to be there so then I could understand and be able to coach women here now. So I could have looked at myself, right, and been like, I'm a freaking failure. It didn't work out for me. I couldn't get to here. I couldn't get there. And my team left and I was betrayed and this sucked and this hurt. I could look at it that way, and I would never have taken action again, because I would have believed that life's out to get me and everything has to be difficult and that I'm a failure. Or I could look at it and say, you know what? I'm so grateful that the universe closed this door on me, because this isn't where I'm meant to be. And I know that behind the next door, when I walk through it, there's something so much greater on the other side of it. And there was. And then as I grow and as I shift and as I learn, I grow and evolve and shift with it. It doesn't mean that at any point I'm a failure. It's just, it's not up to us when or how we get to where it is that we want to go. We just got to buckle up and trust that we're going to get there as we're supposed to.
Yes. And also, I like that you touched on, you know, just moving through things, and that there isn't something such as failure, or like what happens when you continue to walk through that fear and you have this abundance that's just there for you. Like, this just reminded me when you were talking about my relationship with my husband.
Yeah.
You know, when we first started, everything moved very quickly, but there was a lot of negativity, not caused by him or I, and that'll be a whole other episode.
Yes.
But there was a lot there that could have derailed me. But he was so important to me that I didn't matter what was happening or what was occurring in my life, that we were going to make it through that, and that we were going to push through no matter what. And it's the same thing in regards to shifting your money mindset. If you want to do it, you're going to do it. You just have to keep moving through, because my goodness, I could have given up so many times on my relationship or on like this journey, whatever it was, but I chose not to. And I think people forget to celebrate the fact that they made that choice for themselves. Like, they have this power within them to change the trajectory of everything that's going on in their life. Like
Yeah.
you talk about it so well in regards to the universe wants you to have an abundant life. Like it's not sitting here being like, I hate you, you're a dick, you don't deserve this. No, it wants you to, but you have to be open to receive that. 100%. You have to be, and it is insane when you actually finally make that switch. I remember being that person who was so skeptical about like whatever you believe in, universe, Buddha, God, whatever. I was so skeptical about allowing that into my life. And then now I literally watch things and I'm like, why did I not do this before? Why was this something that I pushed away for so long? Where I literally have conversations with people and they know exactly what I'm thinking. And I'm like, how is this happening? Like, it's one of these trust things that people, I just wish so many people would open themselves up to that, which, hey, I was a skeptic before too, but just saying. Well, it's possible.
And something that I just want to touch on quick too, and if anyone's looking at this and thinking, well, you know, when do I know I have to shift it? You have to look at it and say, is this story still serving me? Like, is living like this still serving me? Is every single time I'm going to the grocery store and I'm stressing over the fact that the bread that I buy is 50 cents more expensive today than it was last week? Is that still serving you? Is it still serving you every single time you want to go get your nails done that you tell yourself why you can't do it? Is it still serving yourself that every single time you go for dinner with your husband or with your girlfriends that you look at it and you say, ugh, you look at the menu and say, I can't get this because it's $12 more. Is this still serving you? Like, what is life? Like, you have to really assess, like, what is life? It's not about being totally crazy with your money and your finances and being frivolous with everything and just spending it fast. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying that you only have one life at the same time, right? You're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so do you want to go and remember this, that you were able to enjoy these moments and you were able to anchor them in and you were able to celebrate yourself, and that when you went to dinner with your husband, that you had the dinner with your husband that you wanted to have? Or do you want to walk away and say, I wasn't able to treat myself the way that I wanted to, and you leave feeling lack and you feel scarcity and you're like, ugh, that meal wasn't even that great. I knew I should have got the other one. Like, what's the point then? You know, what's the point? I actually had a conversation with my client today, and it's funny that we are talking about this right now. And, you know, she's in a space where, you know, bankruptcy was a potential possibility. She had walked away from her job and she was stepping into a space of potentially, you know, claiming bankruptcy and trying to figure out what her next best step was. And she told me today, because I told her, as I look back, like, imagine if you did not, because I'll hopefully I can round about this in the right way. I said, look back a couple months. If you did not quit your job, if you didn't go through these motions of having to go through these hard times and go through this a little bit of struggle, you would not be in a position right now where you're looking at selling your house, where you're getting the apartment of your dreams, because you went through a position where you're living across the street right now. Because I didn't know this, but she let me know that she's living across the street from where her ex-husband and her used to live. So it was her old house. There was some things that had happened in the house that she was living that was no longer serving her, and it was making her feel this heavy pressure and heavy energy on her chest every day. And she stepped into this place where now she not only does not have to claim bankruptcy, she gets to sell her house. She gets an abundance of money from doing that. She's going to move into an apartment that she is literally obsessed with. While we were on our session today, she got approved for the apartment that she wanted to and saved I don't know, like over $1,400 of what she thought she was going to have to put down. And so it was so beautiful to be able to celebrate that with her. And she's like laughing on the call, and she goes, I can't believe that this actually gets to be so easy and so effortless. For so long, I made my life be so hard. I made it be so difficult because I thought that it had to be. I stayed in the job that I didn't like, and I stayed in this house because it had to be hard. I almost claimed bankruptcy because that's what I thought I had to do. And when you open it up and you get to see that life is happening for you, it's not happening to you, and you get to choose you get to just ride the waves, essentially ride the waves and see where it takes you. It actually can be fun and effortless, and you're always going to be okay. So that was a little bit of a side note, but it was a beautiful example today that, you know, things can happen in a different direction than you think that they're supposed to go. And it can be easy, and it can be effortless, and it can be fun, and it can feel in alignment when you actually just stop seeing it from the space of like lack and scarcity and why is this all happening to me? And I can't leave my job because what if I do and it all doesn't work out? Well, what if it does? But what if it does?
Yes. And I think that because we're talking about, the mindset and these just like these shifts that you make, which is amazing, by the way, the story that you were saying, which is absolutely incredible. But a lot of people say, oh, well, if I just had more money, it would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
No, more money does not solve the problem.
Mm.
It
Mm.
does
Yep.
not fix it. And I know that you've talked about that. And it
Yep.
was something that really hit where I always used to tell myself, well, if I just had more money, well, if I just had more money, and if this was just paid off,
Mm.
no, that's just an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hiding everything else that's underneath. And I think
Yep.
that, like, I want to touch again on, I think people need to remember that money also really likes you being very clear on what you want to receive, where it's
Mm.
going. And you actually talked about, that the word budget. And I
Mm.
never realized how much that actually had like a negative connotation with it, where I always was like, I actually was talking to you about that this week, where I pictured a budget only allowing what I had to pay out. And so I always
Mm-hmm.
just, all I was making sure was that I had enough to make it by. I was not
Yep.
thinking about all these other things that I wanted to do. And now we like, I sat my husband down, and it was funny because he looked at me when I called it like our journey to like an abundance of wealth is what I called it. And he's like, what, why did you call it that? I'm like, I just go with the flow with me. Okay. Just work with me. It's like, trust me. And he's like, okay. And through that, because we didn't have this dreaded budget word, he wrote down his goals. We looked at it in a
Wow.
completely different mindset, where instead of
Oh.
thinking of this scarcity, we had a lot more than we thought we did coming into this house. And there was no fear. I even said to my husband, I'm like, we are I was like, we are great. I said we have way more. I said, and we can bring in even that much more. And I said, but there's been so much fear. And now we were really clear on what we desired, what we wanted, and our goals. And I remember sitting down, and I'm like, I wrote up these goals, and I said, I'm going to rewrite mine. Do you think that we could become really clear together on what we desire in regards to wealth and abundance, and what we'd like to achieve in the next year? And he's like, okay. I was like, okay. And I let him. But now he gets to look at mine, and I get to look at his, and we can support one another in
Mm.
doing that. And I think that's important in regards to, instead of looking at it as a budget, like, what is the way that you put it? You put it so perfectly.
So, and I want to come back to the other thing that you mentioned before this too, because that was really, I love talking about that, and it's really powerful. But when it comes to a budget, it's restrictive. So a budget is a restrictive word. It is there's a lot of a negative connotation to, right? I have to live within this budget. I have to make sure that I have this for my budget. And so what happens is that when you have a budget, and again, it's not to say like, you can't understand or have percentages of like where you're allocating your money and you have to be frivolous and crazy with it. But when you're utilizing the word and the verbiage, I need to make sure it fits in the budget. What you're doing is you're completely cutting yourself off from making more than that, because you've already decided how much money you're bringing in. So then you're worried about, well, why am I not signing this person? Why am I not bringing more money? Why am I struggling? Well, you completely closed up all the channels to receive what you want, because you've already told the universe and yourself and energetically that that's all you're available for. So
Yep.
you've already allocated where your money is going. You're not available to create more than that. It's impossible. And so you've already decided this money is going here, this money is going here, and you're living within this budget. You're living within a means. You've created a ceiling cap on yourself, and that is energetically where you are at now. So a budget is it's just very restrictive. And so my coach actually calls it something called wealth care.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I kind of took on. And so I could go down the whole road of debt and everything, and the good and the bad debt. But essentially, it's how are you caring for your wealth, right? How are you caring for your wealth? What are you doing to honor? What are you doing to take care of it?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing when it comes down to budget. But there was something that you touched on beforehand about, I'm trying to think how you worded it. Oh, when I have more money. When I have more money, it's going to fix everything. And I want to touch on this because it's probably one of my favorite things to talk about, especially now that I'm in a season where I have seen firsthand that more money does not fix the problem. Okay. So people are always saying that, right? Like you said, when I have more money, then I'll be happy. When I have more money, then this, right? We're always waiting for the money to come to feel the thing we want to feel. We're saying, well, when I have it, then I'll take care of myself. When I have it, then I'll feel happy. Then I'll have a relationship without stress. No. Here's the thing, is that doesn't matter what it is, more money will amplify whatever it is that you're feeling right now. So if you are already strained in your marriage, more money will make you guys more strained. If you are already stressed about money, more money is going to make you more stressed about money. If you are already struggling to spend it or invest it, more money will not solve that. You will still be just as stressed, if not more stressed, about investing or spending it. And this is what I know is true now, because I was in a period of time where I had nothing. I literally had, like I said before, I had $4 left in it was literally like negative $1,996 or something like that in my bank account. In some way, some shape or form, I found a way to put down $3,000 on a coaching program and invest into my business. Some way, somehow, I figured out how to do that when I didn't have any. And it scared me at that time. Yep. It did. But what's crazy is that when I started making consistent 5K or 5-figure months, and I switched from having nothing into where I had 10, 12, 13, 14, I had 5 figures sitting in my bank account. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is incredible. This is amazing. But this is something I'd visualized and dreamed of for so long. So it felt normal and natural. But at the same time, I got placed with the opportunity to reinvest with my coach at like 4 times the level that I was investing before. So what I was paying weekly, she gave me the opportunity to now pay monthly. Okay. And I sat in my car for days. Well, not get in my car for days, but I sat on this for days. And I remember sitting in my car and I was like in tears, and I was in so much fear of investing it. You guys, I had the money. I had the money to invest. And some way, some shape or form, it was harder for me to invest. It was harder for me to spend the money now that I had the money than when I didn't have the money. And there's a reason why there's a lot of people in this world who will make a lot of money, but then it goes away. There's a reason why only some people will ever stay at the top, and they will be extremely massively successful and create massive wealth. And there's a reason why a lot of people will create that wealth and then it'll fall away and they'll never be able to do it again. There's a reason for that, because it's harder at the top. It is harder when you have the money because you have more to lose. You have more that can fall away. You have more on the line. And so it's a totally different thing, because now you're paying people out. Maybe you have team members. Maybe you're investing at higher levels. You're doing things that take up more risk. And so it's honestly harder when you have the money than when you don't. So if you can't figure out on a low level how to spend your money, how to treat yourself, how to take care of yourself, how to not have stress in your marriage and your relationship, how to pay your bills with ease, it doesn't matter how much income you have in your bank account. It's never going to be easier unless you allow it to be easier on a low level. So that's why I started at the beginning. Even when I didn't have much and I maybe had $5, I'd treat myself to a coffee at the cutest little coffee shop that I love, because it was next level. It was like $5 and it allowed me to feel lit up, and the people treated me like gold when I walked in that place, and they all knew my name and they'd have my order ready before I even got there, and I'd be pulling up and I'd walk in and my order was already up. And that allowed me to feel next level. That allowed me to feel high vibe, and it got me into space where I felt taken care of and treated myself, that I was able to allow myself to start spending and treating myself on higher levels, because I started to feel worthy of it, and I started to see that it comes back and I'm okay and I'm supported. Even if it's $5, it doesn't matter if it's $5, $10, $50, $10,000, it doesn't matter. How you spend your money at a low level and how you hold on to it and treat it is how you're going to do it at a high level. So you have to figure out how to do it first, low level, before it's high.
Yes. And I love that you're touching on that, because that is something that I am moving through. And it's not that I'm not investing in myself, because like I invested in you, in my coach. And so that is like at a higher level this time too, which was no question. So it's funny how like, but when something new comes in, like I knew right away, I was like, no, I'm working with Autumn. Like there was no question. I didn't care what it was. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But then now I've been wanting to invest in other courses, and I've made it so hard on myself that I've almost given that mentality that, well, should I be doing it? Can I do it? What am I supposed to do? Where I've like looked at all these different things and I've overwhelmed myself. And so I think that it just comes down to knowing what you truly want to do. And I figured that out. So before, when I was like all over the place of like, oh my God, I want to do this, and this, and I know that I can still accomplish all those things, but I need to start at ground one. Like I'm investing in my coach and I'm investing at this level, and I'm going to invest in an additional program. And I need to start where I'm like, I'm not comfortable, if that makes sense. Like I'm not, but I know that I'm supported in that decision. I hope this makes sense.
Yeah, like it's not where like it's not we're in a place where it's like stretching you so freaking thin where you can't put food on the table, but it's still making you uncomfortable where you're like, okay, I'm investing in my coach and now I'm investing this whole extra amount of money and this whole other investment that I am uncomfortable, I'm shaking, but it still feels good. Like it still feels exciting, and I'm nervous and excited all at the same time.
Well, I think the toughest part was having the conversation with my husband. And I think that was the block that was there in regards to the questions about, well, do you have to do this right now? Like, why are you doing this? And it was just looked at in a negative mindset, basically. And that just really put me off, because I was in that space of like openness and to receive this and to do the damn thing. And so this week, like, I think in regards to like abundance and investments and allowing yourself to be open to receive, that you have to have those freaking tough conversations about what you want to do and be very clear on that. Because even this week, that was when I was like, you know what? I don't have to justify to you or to any Tom, Dick, and Harry about what I am doing. And if you think that I need to justify it to you, well, you are 1,000% wrong. And I've just left it at that. It's a conversation that I choose not to have anymore, because people were wanting this justification on why I was deciding to invest in X, Y, Z. And I'm like, I'm not open to that conversation. I'm like, I don't ask you what products you buy. I don't ask you what you do in your business. Like the biggest thing I told my husband, I said, I don't understand what you're doing, but I never questioned that this is what you're passionate about, that this is what you choose to do. Yeah. I try to listen to you and I try to understand it, but it goes way over my head. And I said, it's the same thing about my coaching business. You say it goes over your head. How is that any different? I still support you 1,000% and I still try. I'm like, and that was when he was like, oh, it doesn't make sense what I'm saying. I'm like, ugh.
Well, and that's just it. And a lot of the time, they're never really going to get our vision and our dreams the way that we do, because they're not theirs, right? Yes. They're not theirs. And that's just the truth of the matter, is it's not theirs. So then when it comes down to investing, they don't always understand. And it's not that we can't do it or we're not capable of doing it, but their triggers and their feelings around their own insecurities around money get brought up, and then that gets put onto us. And so it's no secret, if you've heard my story before, that when I made my first investment in my coach almost a year ago, it was actually 5 hours before I found out that I was pregnant, and I had to drop the bomb that not only did I invest when my boyfriend didn't want me to, but also that I was pregnant all at the same time. And I was like, so sorry that I did this, but I was like, I want you to trust me. Like he is shit in his pants. He was so upset. He felt really betrayed, like that I did these things. But I knew at the end of the day in my gut and my soul that this is what I needed to do. And I could not put the power into anyone else's hands for my future, because I also didn't want to have resentment towards him. I didn't want to feel resentment and be like, you're holding me back from the things that I want for us. Like I want to do this for not just me, but for us, our future family, all of this stuff. And I didn't want to have resentment to him for holding me back, but I had to trust in myself so he could trust in me. How can he trust in me if I don't trust in me? So I had to just leap and say, babe, I get that this is scary. I get that this freaks you out. I get that you don't understand this. And I'm sorry that I did this kind of behind your back, but please trust me in knowing that I will never do anything to put us in harm's way. I will never do anything to hurt our family, and that I got this. And yes, it took a little bit of time to see that return. And I was pumping that well, pumping. But you know what happened? It started to freaking flow. And now he sits there all the time and he goes, I am so grateful and so thankful that you decided to invest and you decided to do the thing, because I didn't get it at the time. And so I'm so grateful. Like, what if you didn't? And that's the thing, is, what if I didn't? Yep. I would have been in that same place that I was before, if not worse. I would never have been able to buy everything that we needed for Eloise. I would have never been able to purchase a brand new vehicle that would keep her safe. I would never have been able to purchase a new computer so that when I was home, I was able to actually do my work from my couch and be able to, not have to be in my office uncomfortable and trying to have a baby in there and all of the things.
Yeah.
Like, I was able to do these things because of this leap of trust and faith. And if I would have put that in his hands, I would have had a lot of resentment towards him, and we would have not been in the position we are now. And so it's hard because I always want to respect my partner and my person, but I also need to respect me. And I need to respect my dreams and my wishes and my purpose, and I need to have him respect me as well. And a lot of the time we have to leap and trust us so then they can leap and trust us, because we'll come into these conversations and we have resistance in our voice. We say, hey honey, hey babe, I got on this consultation, or I know about this program, and I'm scared, I'm a little bit nervous, I really want to do it, but I'm not sure about it. Like, what are your thoughts? What do you think? We're looking for them for permission and validation. And so what they do is they sense from us that we're resistant. So what they're doing is they're protecting us by taking our cues. And they're like, well, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you can do this on your own. I believe in you. You got this. Maybe, you can invest in it now when there's a better time. And we look for this. It's self-sabotage. It gives us a way out because we went into this conversation with resistance. But if we go into this conversation, we say, hey, babe, I got on this consultation and it felt so aligned and it felt so good. I've already decided I'm doing it, but I wanted to let you know that I had this, I'm making this investment. I'm really excited about it. I cannot wait to see what shifts for us. And I hope you truly understand and support me through this because I've already decided I'm doing it. This is a different conversation where they see your confidence and they see how sure you are. This is a different conversation than the other way. Sure, they might still feel resistant. Sure, they might still feel a little bit like, I don't know, but they're not going to give you this way out that you're looking for. They're going to maybe take a little bit of time to get behind it, but they're going to see that you're confident in it, and that's what they need to see, so then they can feel confident in it too.
Yes. I love that you just talked about that, because literally that was like, I was doing that. I was having these discussions with him when I wasn't being clear, like I wasn't being confident in what I was doing, and it was something that I was noticing, and he was giving me that opt-out. He literally was. He was taking those cues and he was giving the opt-out, and he's like, well, and he even said, well, maybe you could do it at a different time. And I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So, and then, but realizing that you do need to be clear, like we were talking about earlier in regards to how money really likes you being clear. All aspects of your life, your priorities, your boundaries, your values, it's important to be very clear on what those are. And so before we hop off here, if there was one thing you wish all female entrepreneurs would know about wealth, what would that be?
Oh my goodness. I'm like, a million things are running through my head. Oh my goodness. If there's one thing that I wish all entrepreneurs and women can know about money, is that there's literally, it's fucking limitless. That it's limitless, but you have to decide. You have to decide your worth. You have to decide what you're capable of, and you have to decide what you're available for, and the universe will move and conspire all the pieces for you. You have to first move your feet and make this decision and know that whatever you want is so freaking possible, and you're so capable of having it. And this can look whatever, if whatever you believe to be is true, will be true. It will be right. So if you want to believe that it's going to be hard and difficult, it will be. But if you want to believe that it's going to be easy and fun and effortless, it will be. But the power is in your hands, and you have to take that back at any single time, in any single moment. But you have to decide first that you're ready for that you're capable of it, and that you're here for it. And you can remove that damn ceiling whenever you want to, but you have to get out of your own damn way.
Yes.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you. I wish I could have a coffee right now. I need to get like decaf one, because then we could have been celebrating with bougie coffees.
Oh, yes, because I even have a bougie coffee right here.
Oh, girl. Yes, you do.
Before we hop off, though,
yes,
for all the listeners on here, where can they find you through social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can come find me on my Facebook. Just either add me or follow me, not my business page, my personal page as a friend, Autumn Bensett. You'll just find me there. You can come find me on Instagram at bossybabe.exo. And I do have a community called the Bossy Babe Club if you feel called to hang out in there for female entrepreneurs. And I do have a podcast called the Wealthy Babe Podcast, so you can come and hang out there too. So we have lots of avenues we can hang out and grow together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend her podcast, guys. It is incredible.
Oh my God. I can't wait to hear all of this put together. I am dying. I'm over here just like, I can't wait.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Autumn, for coming on the podcast. And I will see you guys all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.